Coach PJ here. Do you feel like your life is a series of negotiations, a series of bargaining, of understanding what the other person wants, trying to get what you want, and this endless set of negotiation back and forth? Well, it's true. All day long, every day, we negotiate. We negotiate with our kids to get out of the house. We negotiate with our colleagues on timing. We negotiate with our business partners on delivery, on expectations. We negotiate everything all day long, every day. So there's a lot that goes into negotiations. And being a great negotiator takes the stress off of that. So let's talk about some of the negotiation skills and some of the things that you should be concerned about when you're negotiating. So one thing, take the perspective of the other person. Demonstrate empathy, demonstrate understanding. Think about where they're coming from, because that is very important if you're going to understand what motivates them. What is their priority? And then you can understand, how do you match that priority? How do you provide value into that priority? How do you acknowledge that priority, if nothing else? But that's really important, taking that viewpoint and understanding what's in it for them. Not so much what's in it for me, but what's in it for them. Why would they want to do this? Why would they want to be flexible? Why would they want to give you an option? Why would they want to negotiate or compromise what they think they want? So very important. Another thing, it's not always about price. It's often about value. We often go to price. It's a very common thing, is if someone pushes back or is hesitant, we end up negotiating with ourselves. We end up having a dialogue about price, about why they're hesitant with ourselves, instead of just listening and asking questions and letting them tell us why they might be hesitant or what they're thinking. And oftentimes they're not thinking price. They're thinking about, well, how would I get this done? Or how do I include my partner in this decision? Or how can I make that work? And they're not always thinking about price. They're thinking about some of the ways about how to implement or how it's going to happen. And when you presume that they're thinking price, you automatically just start cutting down the value you're giving by lowering your price when it's not even necessary. You've gone there prematurely and you end up negotiating with yourself. Also think about, asking for more than you want, starting at the high end and backing down. Not so that you're overpricing, but that you are understanding there's a huge value that you can provide, and let's scope it down. Let's start to scope it to something that they can see themselves doing. And then everything's on the table, and you have the opportunity to manage expectations and both scope and price. So they kind of go together. Know that you need to know that you can walk away. And if you want to walk away, you have to know that you can walk away. Really important in negotiation is to know where your limits are. And if you know that you are willing to walk away, then that helps in your negotiation. If you're not willing to walk away, then you need to know that you want this bad enough that you're going to take it at, I wouldn't say any price, but that you're really willing to give a lot more. And there's nothing wrong with that, but no going into the conversation. I was talking to a client this morning, and she mentioned that, when they got down to negotiating a house, they said, really, we're bickering over $5,000 in the grand scheme of things, in the life of the house. This is really not going to matter as much as we really want this house. So they gave into it. And sometimes what happens is we get so caught up in the negotiation, so caught up in the thrill of the deal making, that we forget to step back and look at the forest versus the trees and say, you know what, it really isn't that important. We're talking about $200, we're talking about $500, we're talking about a number that is insignificant compared to the value you're going to get. So don't risk the deal if you really, really want to go forward based on price. But also know your limits, know what you can and cannot do. And if that is a hard stop for you, be prepared to walk away. And be prepared to walk away feeling appropriately satisfied. Sometimes I'll get people who will say, oh, I think I could have gotten another X. I think I could have gotten another month. I think I could have gotten another discount. It doesn't matter. You got a deal that you're happy with, or you decided to step away. So don't look at the deal when it comes to what you could have gotten and what the deal, the money, the opportunity that was left on the table. Be happy with where you are, which leads us to win-win. Really look for, how can this be good for both of us? How do we make this good for both of us? How do we make this a win-win? Because truly in negotiations, you want everybody to be happy. You want everybody to be at the table and feel like they were honored, that they're getting something, that it's a good deal for both. You don't want to feel like you beat somebody up and that they're sacrificing and it's a hardship for them to deliver or serve you based on the agreement you have. That's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to start a relationship or to continue a relationship. You really want it to be, everyone feels good about where we're headed. Really, really important. And when that comes to it, some of the words you can use are things like, under what circumstance would you provide this? Under what circumstance would it be appropriate to take a deposit? Under what circumstance could you lower the price? Could you change the offering? Could you throw in the installation? Whatever that is. And when you get to that, you open up a different dialogue. You get to a place where they can describe the circumstances that they would accept that. And sometimes they'll say, it's a matter of policy. We can't change that, but we can do this. And there's really, under those circumstances, well, if we knew you could sign for a year, we would do the installation for free. So there are times when people will tell you under what circumstance that they would provide that service or extend those terms. And when that happens, it doesn't bind them, so they're more willing to go to that conversation when they know it's not binding and they know they can talk freely about, oh, under these circumstances. Now, those circumstances may not be acceptable to you or may not be realistic. So if you paid me $1 million, that would be a great circumstance. I would definitely do something and I would definitely honor that or offer that, but that's not realistic. So you then start at that point and start working your way backwards. So what is realistic? Because now they've opened the door to the fact that it's realistic at all. So those are great terms. Think about the fact that you really have to consider what's in it for them. What are their motivators? What's the hidden motivation that they are not telling you that you need to uncover? Be curious. In the negotiation, be curious about what they want, what they're looking for, what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve, what their team is like, what their issues are, what they're struggling with, what keeps them up at night, all of those things. Think about it from the standpoint of those are the things that you can be curious about, understand, and listen. Sometimes it's about shutting up. It's about listening and letting them speak. Being okay with comfortable silence. Nothing wrong with uncomfortable silence. It gives room for thought. It gives room and space for the other person to feel like they need to speak. And you're not reading their mind and trying to anticipate what they're going to say. Those are a couple things. Be creative. That's another one. You really want to be creative. There are lots of ways to get from point A to point B. It isn't all one size fits all. So don't be afraid with being creative. Being creative with your problem solving, being creative with your terms, be creative with your pricing. There's lots of ways to do this, and don't rule them out. Think about how do you do it, not if you can do it. And those are some great ways to look at it. Last but not least, understand that there are some triggering words. There are things that you should not say in a negotiation, things that are just bad ideas, things that you are saying, no, I just don't want, they're triggering. Let's go through a few of those. Things like, to be honest, that's not a great word. That really gets you the element of, I haven't been honest to date. I haven't said the right things so far. Trust me, in a negotiation, that's not a good idea, because it basically tells someone that you are trustworthy, you need to trust me, and quit asking me questions. It kind of shuts that down. So those are not great things. Also, don't use the word contract. Use the words agreement or paperwork. Let's get to the paperwork. Let's take a look at the agreement. Those are great things. When you think about asking someone to buy, ask them to move forward. Ask them to get started. Ask them if they're ready to take this home. Whatever that situation is, move them forward in that buy mode, but you don't have to say, are you ready to write the check? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to take this home? Are you ready to move forward? All of those are really great words to use. And when you think about it, don't apologize for following up on a sale. Don't apologize that you're bothering someone. When you are following up, when you are contacting someone, contact them with confidence. Don't say, I'm sorry to bother you. Don't say, I'm just following up. Those are weak and more powerless conversations. You want to have a conversation that says, I saw this and I thought of you and I wondered how you were doing. That's an alternative to, I'm just following up, which means I'm just chasing the sale. I'm just seeing if you're ready to buy. No, I'm just thinking about you. I was wondering how you were doing. You mentioned you wanted to get this goal done, this person hired, this activity, this location opened. How's that going? And be curious about where they are in their journey, because you just don't know. So those are some ways to look at negotiations. Negotiations can be fun. They can be well run. They can actually be enjoyable. Go for the win-win. Go for the positive, upbeat, what's in it for them. You'll have a much better time. You'll come from a place of confidence and power in that element. Really, really important. If you like this video, subscribe, comment below. Your business profit. Until next time.